Much research has already been completed showing the correlation of how social isolation and loneliness can increase the risk of chronic disease, such as cardiovascular disease. We're going to look at personal characteristics today and how personal characteristics may determine the likelihood of social isolation and loneliness. So that way, if the personal characteristics can be identified, we may be able to implement programs that then can reduce the prevalence of social isolation and loneliness, which then reduces the likelihood or increase of risk in chronic disease. So some of the health risks that we do see between social isolation and loneliness include coronary heart disease, stroke, dementia, and all-cause mortality, as well as high blood pressure, a depressed immune system, reduced cognitive function, and all-cause mortality for loneliness as well. It should be noted that both do result in increased healthcare use. So there's a difference between social isolation and loneliness, in that social isolation is the level of contact with others in a social network, such as friends, family, and a broader community like church or other social functions, whereas loneliness is actually a perception of whether or not social needs are being met. So it's the level of contact, what they have versus what they want. One can be socially isolated but not lonely, and conversely, one can be lonely and not socially isolated. So the researchers of this study sent out about 50,000 questionnaires identifying specific personal characteristics as well as geographical factors. The findings among the personal characteristics showed that people for social isolation reported being older, being male with a low income, with a functional impairment and a higher education level, where the people that reported being lonely were actually in the younger age group. And another difference was that they had a low education level. One significant factor had to do with marital status, whereas men who reported being a widow were 4 times more likely reporting being lonely than any of the other marital statuses. The findings with the geographic factors were inconsistent, and more research and study needs to be done in this area. But after the conclusion of the study and looking at the personal characteristics and how what people were reporting, the researchers did find that there was a 5.1% prevalence of social isolation and a 10.2% prevalence of loneliness. So the researchers, Menick, Newell, and Shushkari, did report that social network size, frequency of contact, and social participation were not consistently related to loneliness. So again, it goes back to the quality of relationships versus the quantity of relationships. So what can we as policymakers and social justice workers do to decrease chronic disease through the identification of social isolation and loneliness? We need to focus resources on particular city neighborhoods that have a higher proportion of older adults and low income, and also build more age-friendly communities where older adults have more resources, have more opportunities, and have more social connections.